Do I get to see your beautiful face?
Ah, shit. Hold on. It's doing the... Hello, everybody. Hold on. I gotta adjust the Discord camera. That's right, because I haven't streamed from my end in a minute. Where's John? There's John. Oh!
You gotta correct some things.
Hey, Paul, thank you for the follow, man. How you doing?
Oh! We got a follow already. I love it.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
We are currently broadcasting from Twitch, Tube, and Rumble. If you use the link tree, you can find the links all over that John. Situation. There you go. That's the one thing I couldn't do because you weren't here. Yeah, that's right. So nice of you to join me.
My apologies, too, for running late.
No troubles, bubbles. It's all love. So, hello, everybody. Welcome. Happy Friday to all who are watching. Raven, what's up? Thank you for being here. 8Ball, it's good to see you as well for being here also. Which, fun fact, Octoball is Dutch for 8Ball.
Nice. That's good to know. You learn something new every day.
One of my buds from my other streams. Getting all the homies to come through. So, one of the topics, so you picked a topic earlier this week, Wednesday. And I'll admit that topic was not one of, personally, my strong suits. I didn't, and we discussed this after we ended the broadcast. I was like, that was painful, because I feel like I was so boring and I wasn't really, what is it, boy? Well, tell me something.
I don't know, I heard a voice. You're good.
Did it say, I am God?
No.
That movie fucked me up. I'm not gonna lie. That movie fucked me up.
Which movie's that?
The Fourth Kind.
Oh, good movie.
Yeah, fucking. Which is actually a good segue, because...
Did you ever listen to the actual tapes?
Once. Never again.
Never again, thank you.
Anyway, but one of the so yeah, the whole episode, I feel like I was just not. Like I said, it's not that subject. I'm not too knowledgeable on. I felt like I was like, I even told you before we started the episode. I'm like, you're probably gonna have to lead on this one, bud, because I'm not well versed. So if anyone wants to see me fumble over my words and try to just come up with things to say, watch last Wednesday's episode. But I get to pick this week's topic.
Friday Night Lights.
Yep. And speaking of the fourth kind, I wanted to kind of go into aliens, but specifically abductions.
Hey, okay.
See? And you said, and I was like, I even said, I was like, I'm going to pick something that'll...
Front door works too. Go ahead, hurry up.
Okay. I'll try to make this quick. Oh shit! Ties in with a subscription, Twitch Prime.
Oh.
Thank you so much for the support.
Thank you.
Man.
We need 2 more. I don't know what new sub goal. We need 2 more.
Oh yeah, that's right. We have a sub goal. I think it's like the default thing. We have no real goals here. We're just trying to get by. We're just trying to keep going. Thank you for that. We got a follow and a sub. All right. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate you. So one of the things. So alien abduction. I actually have a thing here that says also known as the abduction phenomenon or alien abduction syndrome refers to reports of individuals claiming to have been kidnapped by extraterrestrial beings and subjected to physical and psychological manipulation. These reported encounters often involve being taken to a spacecraft, medical examinations, and sometimes being exposed to harmful treatments or interventions. So, this is... Ty, what's up, brother? This is a topic that we've gone over in our personal conversations in the past. multiple times. We've talked about aliens and stuff before, but there's a specific story that I wanted to because there's only one time I've ever seen it. Oh, look at that! The infamous Twitch Prime sub as well. Look at that. I love that we Twitch Prime sub to our own stream.
Don't say anything.
Hey man, it all adds up.
Got to make this work somehow.
Yeah. So one of the only time I've ever really seen you get that you're a man that I seldom see get like choked up, get squeamish, get
Yes.
emotional. You've always been very like stoic and very like you're kind of like a statuesque guy. Like I've never seen like you're just kind of like that's I don't know how to put it, but there's one story that you've told me, and I don't know if you want to tell it here, but one that actually like I've actually as you tell the story, you're like ugh, like and you get, and I think you know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah, I will never forget that story.
Are you comfortable with sharing that story with our audience, or should we just go into the topic?
Why don't we go into the topic, and if we get some more viewers, then I'll actually tell my story.
Okay, so
that way.
So the topic, as I said, is about aliens and alien abductions, and I've always found it to be a interesting subject because one of the more famous stories is the abduction of Barney and Betty Hill, or what's called also the Barney and Betty Hill incident, who were an American couple who claimed that they were abducted by extraterrestrials. This was in New Hampshire in 1961. So it's something that where it was a married couple who claimed that they were.
It's one of the few abduction stories that actually happened not in the Midwest.
Yes, that seems to be a lot of like Roswell was like a really big one. That was an abduction story. That was like the UFO crash. Yeah, so it says here, according to a variety of reports by the Hills, the alleged UFO sighting happened at about 10:30 p.m. The Hills were driving back to Portsmouth from a vacation in Niagara Falls and Montreal. Just south of Lancaster, New Hampshire, Betty claimed to have observed a bright light, point of light in the sky that moved from below the moon and the planet Jupiter upward to the west of the moon, while Barney navigated on US Route 3. Betty reasoned that she was observing a falling star, only it moved upward. Because it moved erratically and grew bigger and brighter, Betty urged Barney to stop the car for a closer look, as well as to walk their dog. Barney stopped at a scenic picnic area just south of Twin Mountain. And they took binoculars and observed an odd-shaped craft flashing multicolored lights. Because Betty's sister had said that she had several years earlier had seen a flying saucer, Betty thought it might be what she was observing. Their binoculars, they reasoned it was a commercial airliner, but soon changed their mind when the craft had rapidly descended in their direction. This object that was a plane with not a plane. Raptor Smith with a tier 1 subscription.
Oh baby, we hit our 10.
Oh man, thank you guys. Appreciate y'all.
That's beautiful. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Appreciate the love. Awesome. Thank you. So one of the things that I'm not gonna read this whole article here, but one of the things that they were saying is that they had reportedly been hypnotized, and these entities came out of the craft and Betty had apparently kind of come out of this trance as they were being guided by these extraterrestrial beings and was trying to get. Oh, yeah, man, a gifted sub.
And a gifted sub. This is a beautiful thing.
Holy crap. Dude, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Raptor Smith, what a legend. Thank you. And this is also a subject. In a few minutes, we'll open our Discord to anyone who also has any stories that if you've ever seen a UFO or anything like that, and you want to join us on the show here and chime in and kind of tell us your stories if you're interested in
That would be awesome.
Join our Discord, hop in general chat, let us know in the group, in the chat on the stream, if you're interested in joining and just kind of telling your story, man. And let's see here. But yeah, so they apparently and that was all that they had remembered as they were being abducted. And then when they were returned back to where they were abducted by this craft, they immediately went home. And for some reason, they had said that they had felt a mental block, or developed a mental block for portions of the event they either could not remember or did not wish to remember. And they described in detail the appearance of the craft was somehow not human. Figures aboard it. People who were studying the incident, and a Boston astronomer and NICAP member who met with the Hills, did a 6-hour interview with them, said that they were telling the truth, and the incident probably occurred exactly as reported, except for some minor uncertainties and technicalities that must be tolerated in any such observations where human judgment is involved. For example, the exact time and length, visibility, apparent sizes of object and occupants, distance and height of the object, etc. Malice, what's up, man? My mic seems
a bit tinny. Yeah, turn down your highs. Who's Atlas?
So,
He's
no
Steve
idea.
here, guys.
Yeah.
He's Steve here.
Hold on.
Don't at me.
Don't
at me, bro.
Is that better? I just turned the gain.
Yeah, a little bit. On my side, it's a little better. I don't know if for everybody else, but
Rapid, yes, thanks, man.
yes, thank you very much, brother.
Hey, Oski, Kate, what's up? Good to see you. Welcome. So apparently they had like very vivid dreams after the incident. They had, for some reason, they felt like compelled to examine their own genitals after finally coming home, because they felt as if that was kind of messed with.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Why is it always the genitals?
Yeah, like these cows that supposedly like their gonads and everything are like taken out for some reason.
Yeah, it's always the soft tissue.
Yeah. What just happened to my? Anyway, let's see.
Tyson's correct in the story.
They also admitted that they were on drugs too. Interesting.
Cows are just easy to see from space. That's the truth.
That's it.
I mean, I'm sure that happens in Africa. Like they see the elephants, and you can see them from space too. So it's just like, you know what? But everybody there is just sort of like, it happens.
Yeah. So,
because your mom, Raptor Smith.
Jesus.
keep it non-hostile, boys and girls. Everybody there is just sort of like, and medication.
Yeah.
Oh, is that the Kate from YouTube?
Yes.
Welcome. Raptor Smith.
Who wants some noodles?
Who wants some noodles? It's getting distracted. This is awesome. We've got so many people here. Not used to this. Good.
This is great.
I can't wait to divulge my story.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Your story is so I've seen. So this is like my personal experiences. I've seen lights in the sky. I've seen a craft, like physically seen a craft, not just lights, but like I can see the shape of the craft, and that was the closest I've ever come to seeing anything like UFO related. I used to like be obsessed, and I would do like a deep dive into these things.
Put on your helmet.
A lot of people don't know that New Jersey is actually a UFO hotspot, and especially the Jersey coast. And it's because we have some of the largest like air bases in the area, and they tend to happen around air bases.
Yeah.
I know plenty of people, especially like fishermen who are like off the coast, who have seen. I grew up with a couple guys who own fishing boats, and they've seen stuff. My friend Mike. I've never seen a craft. Just to put that out there, I've never seen a craft. I've never seen, and I used to skywatch. I have really good vision and really, really good night vision. And I used to just lay in my yard and just look at the stars, and I would watch the satellites go by. And I've
always loved that. Like seeing the satellites was always really cool.
I've seen Starlink. I saw Starlink like way back in the day, back before it was like how they cross now. Like that's a new thing. But I saw like lines, and then they see like another one like go by, and I've seen all that stuff, but I've never actually seen like an actual craft.
It's I've seen one once. The one time that I'd actually seen one, I was driving. This is the strange bit where I was driving in a secluded kind of area with my girlfriend at the time. Actually, I remember I had my window down, and there was no sound. There was no like. At first, I thought it was a helicopter, but I didn't hear anything. And for how low this thing was, and I'm talking like 2 telephone poles high, just for like reference of how low this thing was. And this was actually near an airport, which is why I thought not too far from an airport. It wasn't near, like right next to it, but it was a few miles away, maybe. And it was kind of like it was a cigar shape, and it had these amber lights on both ends of it. And it was as it was kind of going, it went over the trees, and it's all trees out by me, so it's just like a long road and trees. And there's this like airport pavement test facility, it was called. And this thing was like maybe a little bit larger than a school bus. And it was just kind of going this way.
I got a story for you, Tyson. I got a good one.
And
go ahead.
A few weeks later, me and my friends went and saw a paranormal movie, Paranormal Activity. And after the movie, we're outside all hanging out and talk about the movie, sharing our own paranormal stories. And one of my buddies was like, "Oh, tell them about the UFO you saw the other day." And I was like, "What? You guys saw a UFO?" And they were like, "I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it." And like, there was one day when finally, like, for weeks they wouldn't tell me. Like, finally, like my one friend, I kind of like I cornered him, and I was like, "Tell me what you saw." And him and our other buddy were out in, like, it was by like Glassboro, and they saw like a water tower with lights, and they're like, "Oh, when they put a water tower there," and the lights kind of like started moving, and they're like, "That's not a water tower." And then all of a sudden, getting closer and closer, and they're like, "Let's get in the car." So they get in the car, and they had a car that had a sunroof. And this thing starts following them, and it shined as they're going down this dirt road. It was like a spot where I guess they went to like hang out and like like smoke pot or something. I don't know. They didn't even smoke. I don't know what the hell they're doing out there. But it was like in the
Do
middle of this,
drugs.
like they were just like hanging out, and like they were driving, and then this thing shined a spotlight on them, and then turned the spotlight off, and went around, and then kind of circled back, followed them up for a little bit more, and then it like went over, and then it like went over a lake towards like Hampton. And this was around the same time. I was like, when was this? He was like, about like, you know, a couple weeks ago. And I was like, I saw something really similar, because he said it was like a cigar shaped thing that was flying low, and it had two like amber colored lights on either end of it.
Okay.
It was really
So it turns out that you basically you'd reinforce the fact that you saw what you saw.
yeah.
Okay.
So that was
pretty wild.
was really interesting, especially because like I live in a completely different county than them, but the fact that they saw something similar was really interesting to me. As stated a few weeks back, my or during there are aliens. He had a conversation with aliens. He had pictures of it in a photo album he kept. A picture I saw couldn't describe it. And that chills went down my back, and they stood on it. Described the photo as best described the photo as a Slender Man. But this was long before Slender Man, so it couldn't have been that. To this day, I can't really describe what I saw Slender Man. Well, from what I understand, these beings, these entities, always seem to have like that tall, slender build. It's interesting. Never really hear about any fat alien.
Right.
So, no McDonald's out in the
There's no job.
Reticuli system.
There's no Jabas out there. At least if there are, they don't fly here.
They're too fat for their craft. Did you ever watch have you ever read into the Bob Lazar like things, like the documentary or anything?
I watched his interviews. I watched his documentary. I mean, I'm kind of here or there on Bobby. I don't know.
Okay.
My cousin is Pizza the Hut. Sadly, he ate himself last month.
McDonald's is good, but it's not good for you.
What's happening? We're losing everybody. We're down to like 3 people. Ties it in Raptor.
We still got it. Since we have 8 viewers, we got 2 on
I don't know
YouTube.
what's going on with Twitch, but it looks like everybody just dropped out.
We got 94 followers on Twitch. Nice. Go Cheeto. It's 7 viewers on Twitch. So,
Well, I mean, it's almost 9 o'clock. So I guess I should tell my story.
yeah.
Peyton, Raptor Smith, you're Peyton. Hi, Peyton. Appreciate you, Peyton. It's the one, the only.
What a bud, what a bro.
So, I have a story. I believe it's aliens. I believe it was aliens. It happened to me long ago at this point, almost 35 years at this point. Jesus, to even say that, it's just like, So,
Getting old, Clegane.
oof. We recently moved into a house. It was me, my little sister, my mom, and my father. And it was a new environment. And I woke up from a dream. And I was scared. And what I used to do is I would go downstairs and I would crawl into bed with my parents. I was 5 years old, so that's what you do. And I wake up, go down the stairs, go around the house. And one of the first things that I notice is like the entire house is bathed in this bright light that's like tinted sort of reddish coming through the windows. And it was sort of reddish. So I go into the kitchen, and then my parents' bedroom was right around the corner and from the kitchen. And I walk into my parents' bedroom, and their bed is empty. They're not there. And what was really weird was their bed was made. So I'm really confused. And I'm like, maybe I'm just getting up at like dawn, and maybe they're outside doing something. I don't know. So I go to the front door, and I open up the front door, and we have a storm door. And when I look out the front door, the entire yard directly around our house is lit up from this reddish, bright light. It's very bright. But everything outside of this light is still dark. And now I'm really freaking out. And I'm like, what is going on? And I open up the storm door, and I step out onto the deck, and I hear, as I'm out there, this like hissing noise. So I look up, and above me, the way that my roof was slanted, right above the door, above me is this face hanging over top of the soffit of my house. And wow, dude, I haven't told this story since the last time that I told you, and it's actually bugging me out the same way.
Yep.
So I look up, and it's this fucking face, and it's a gray fucking alien. It's unmistakable. Like, I didn't know what it was at the time because I'm 5. As I got older, I used to have this incredible, unexplainable fear of gray aliens on television. It took years for me to put 2 and 2 together. Oh, it gets better, Tyson. It gets better. As I'm looking this thing in the fucking eye, mind you, it's looking over, so it's upside down to me. As I'm looking this way, it opens its fucking mouth, and it has these razor sharp teeth, and it hisses at me, and I black out and wake up in my bed. Oh. Fuck. I haven't told that story in so long. I have goosebumps. It's bugging me the fuck out. I hate this. I didn't think it was going to do that to me this time. God. So there's a part 2. I do believe I told you the part 2. Soon thereafter, my parents get a divorce. And at a certain point in time, I was staying with my grandfather and my grandmother in the house that I'm in right now. So we're here, and my grandmother and grandfather, they used to let me sleep in their bed all the time. And they have a sliding glass door and these huge windows. And I wake up in like 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and my grandfather jumps out of bed, and there's this bright light coming through the windows.
Oh, I remember this part.
And he says, "Damn it, I fucking told them not here." And he runs out the front fucking door. And again, I black the fuck out. Now, mind you, my grandfather passed away in 1996. We always knew that he worked for the government on some level. I found his Pentagon ID with his classification of E. And it was his updated up until, so supposedly he retired in like 93, but his Pentagon ID was valid up until 1997. So that means he got it done somewhere in the time that he was even sick. My grandfather has pictures of, I have an authentic picture of the guys who were standing underneath the atom bomb with the big thick fucking glasses that's signed by them. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. So my grandfather was directly related to this stuff. So, yeah. And all that happened all around the same time. But after that point, I've never had another incident. I've never had another abduction or whatever you would actually call that. I don't have missing time. They didn't mess with us like repeatedly, except that, I guess if you consider that those were like the 2 times that it was repeated. But yeah, that's the only time that never since after that.
Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. I'm glad everybody. But that's
I
Well, I don't tell that story much. It freaks me the fuck out.
I know, and that's why I said thank you, because I know because the last time you told that, we were at that we were on a camping trip, and me and our other friend Kev, who is also like just a giant dude, fucking stocky as hell, like literally like a walking brick house, and he's looking at me and I'm looking at him, and we just kept sharing ghost stories, and Kev just goes, guys, if we don't change the subject, me and Steve are gonna fucking go somewhere else. He'll fucking crash on my couch. We're gonna go home. Like, we gotta change the subject now.
I have another part of that story.
There's another part.
I think I did. Yeah, I just remembered a piece of this. So my grandmother passed away in 2018. I told you this. And I was working at the club, and this guy comes in and he sits down at the bar and he's talking to the girls and he's buying them drinks and all this stuff. And it's like a Sunday. But here's the thing. It is the day that my grandmother passed away. And we're having this conversation and we're going back and forth, and he pays for his drinks and he settles up his tab and he finishes his drink and he puts it down and he looks at me and goes, "How old are you? About 34? And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "You know, the FBI hires up until 35, right? You should probably look into that." Didn't talk about the FBI at any point in time in the conversation. It was standard, like, sports bullshit, this and that. He waited till everybody was gone. It was just me and him in the bar. And he proceeds to tell me on the day that my grandmother passed away. I couldn't help the moment he said it. I was just like, my grandfather had a thing that was like a stay away for as long as my grandmother was alive. To like leave my family alone until my wife is gone. The fact that it happened the day of, it was like,
That's interesting.
yeah. So technically, he wasn't dressed in black, but I technically was approached by like a man in black who told me to go join the FBI.
So, it's funny you mentioned that, and I think I told you this story before. I used to go into like really deep dives on this stuff. I was obsessed. I almost always was looking into like aliens and like trying to find like pictures and video, whether it was like a UFO or of a being. And like I used to spend. I'd come home from school and I immediately went on my computer and I was just research, looking for anything.
Oh yeah, I remember. We used to talk about this stuff all the time.
Yeah, and I was going to my sister's house once. This was back when I lived at my old house.
They are real, Raptor. They are real.
So,
not to cut you off, I don't want to cut you off real quick, but I can actually tell you 100% that all of my family members will attest that the Men in Black, when my grandfather was going through his, every time that he had to go through a clearance, like a classification clearance, they would show up to the house and do a background check on him in person. Black glasses, black suits, like blank names, Mr. Smith and Mr. Black and Mr. White. Yes, 100%. My family, several members of my family have attested to that, said that it's happened. There's even a story that I have from my uncle who, I told you this story. The guy shows up to the house, knocks on the door. My uncle opens the door. 2 gentlemen dressed all in black with the black sunglasses. His dog, Louie, proceeds to latch onto this guy's leg and hump the shit out of him. Meanwhile, the guy doesn't react, goes through the entire interview. And my Uncle Dave's like, you want me to do it? And the guy's like, no, it's fine. When it was over with, the guy just takes the dog, like leans towards the door and was like, kick into the house, and then just turned around and walked away. That was it. So, yeah. So it's not even like just as simple as like they talked to them. No, there was like interaction.
Yeah.
My dad met them.
Not as many people can say their dog humped
a man in black. I shit you not. I could get Dave on the phone.
Wow. So my story is not as interesting as that. But I think this was like their way of saying like, stop looking. Because I was my dad used to have this van, and he was driving. My mom's cousin was in the passenger seat. My mom was in the back seat, and I was in the back seat. And I was on the back seat of the van, like when I'm like behind the passenger side seat. And so I'm sitting, and I'm kind of, and the back windows are kind of on the van are like pretty tinted, so you can't really see in. And I'm just like looking out the car, and I'm people watching. And there was this old, like, boxy looking sedan. And I'll never forget this. It was like an old, like, maybe like a 70s style sedan. And the windows were not tinted at all. It was just two men in black brim hats, black sunglasses, black suit, black tie, white shirt. Both of them, their heads simultaneously look at me as if, and I feel like they're looking at me through this tinted window, and all of a sudden I had this sensation that like my blood sugar just plummeted, and I felt very weak, and like I have to lay down and like put my head down on my mom's lap, and they were like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And like I didn't even see them drive off. I just remembered them both like just kind of giving me this like, and they both looked right at me, and I just suddenly, and then I'd get from the whole ride up to we were driving from my house to my sister's house, and the whole time I just felt really strange, and I felt very weak. Like I could still kind of move, but I just felt like the closest thing I could describe it to was as if my blood sugar dropped, and I know that, but I don't know, it was just a very strange thing. And I got to my sister's, and after like resting and laying down for about like an hour, I kind of felt a little better. But it was just that was like the only encounter that I had really had. But after that, I kind of stopped poking around a little bit, which was interesting.
Maybe they were testing you. Maybe they were feeling you out from the inside.
Yeah. Oh, you talk dirty. They promises.
Promises.
But yeah, it was.
Oh, baby, don't neuralize me, please. I want to remember this.
I want you to look at this thing right here. And but yeah, and I have family that is also in the government, but they were more like military. The only one that I kind of really think that was heavily involved in government stuff was I had an uncle from my mom's side who apparently, I don't know who he worked for. I think but my sister was telling me how I had this Uncle Bob who was, I think he started in the military, and then he joined a federal branch. But then he once he got into a certain part of it, he could not talk to family anymore. He just disappeared. Whatever he got involved in, they were just like, hey, I think they had like a barbecue or something, like a family gathering. It was just like, hey, I'm going to work. See you later. And then, like, unfortunately, I can't have any ties with my family or something. And that was the last time they saw him. So I remember my mom talking about it before, and I brought it up to my sister once. She was just like, yeah, we never saw him after that. And I was like, that's wild. I can't imagine getting a job where like you just got to say bye to your family, and it's like you're never going to see them again.
Well, it's sort of strange. It's sort of strange because my grandfather actually had he had a family. He had two residences. That was true. We did find some things from his second residence because his second residence was in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, which don't know why. But yeah, like my grandfather was deeply involved in a lot of really interesting things. The only thing that he ever actually told us that he was directly involved with was, so my grandfather was actually, when he went to college, he wanted to be a teacher. And he was a teacher. He was a math teacher. He had no official, I want to get to Peyton in a second because he says he thinks he's had a close encounter. But he never had any like official military ranking. But my dad did go with him one time when he was young to a military base, and soldiers would stop and salute him, which we always thought was very interesting because my dad said that stuck out in his mind that for whatever reason. But the only thing that my grandfather ever actually said that he dealt with directly was missile reentry systems, because he was able to calculate the trajectories. And I found a bunch of his stuff that he used to like do that stuff with in this house, which was rather interesting. He also like dealt with computers, and he kind of helped create one of the first computers that did all that stuff, that actually would calculate those things. And it used to run on fucking punch cards. That's how far back we're going. So actually, my grandfather has direct ties to NORAD, which was the point that I was getting at. And that's why I said that was interesting that you had relations and to NORAD, and my grandfather did also, because pretty much he helped develop it. I know this probably sounds like ridiculous, and there's people out there like, yeah, whatever. I don't care. I know what I know.
Dude, even I sometimes like think. Like I tell my own stories sometimes, and I'm like my Men in Black encounter. I'm just like, that didn't happen. But like I don't know, man. That was an interesting.
When I was like, I got pictures of this. When I was like 3 years old, my grandfather just walked me onto a base, and we just got into a helicopter and got flown around. Like, I have pictures of that.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I you know. Wild shit.
Raven, thank you for the bits. Appreciate your love. Yeah, Peyton, if you want to.
So yeah, anybody who wants to jump in, I told my story.
Yeah, anybody who has a story about anything, where if you've seen a UFO or something like that, you want to.
Anything paranormal. I'm cool with anything paranormal.
Yeah.
Got a story.
Ghost stories, whatever.
Yeah, please.
But yeah, I feel like general voice channel.
In the general admissions podcast, not Steve's channel.
Yeah, that one. The link is in.
If you jump in general, I'll just drag you into the live.
Yeah, I've always been fascinated by that. I think it's mainly because like I grew up watching, like just being obsessed with Star Wars and anything with space. I'm like, wait, like I kind of had the same reaction of like, you know, when I grew up watching the movies, I'm like, wait, there's books on it too. I want to know more. And it's like, wait, aliens might be real. I want to know more. And I just kind of, I almost had like a monastic obsession with aliens.
Aliens.
Yeah, well, I've always found it to be really interesting because I think it'd be cool because we could probably learn a lot from them. Obviously, would it just like if you had a
remember that conversation we had last Wednesday about forbidden knowledge being taught to humans? I shouldn't reference stuff that we talk about off the show, but
maybe. Yeah, no, probably not. A part of me like wishes we were still live when we were talking about it, because that was a good deep combo. I think that was a good, so maybe one day.
I wish, but not. We'll wait till we start getting into like the super ultra religious context of stuff.
Yeah.
There you go, Raptor. Peyton, I sent you a invite to the general channel. Just click on that, and then I'll drag you into the live. You know, it's another.
I've seen like lights in the sky, but other than that, I think the craft that I saw and then like the MIB encounter.
I got another interesting story. I grew up with this kid. I won't name him. He was a close friend of mine. We were really good friends. And interestingly, one night we were sitting there. We were talking about his grandfather. It's Peyton. And just jump into the general voice chat, and I'll drag you in. And we were going over stuff, and he was talking about his grandfather's best friend. And he kept saying, like, it's funny because you kind of remind me of these stories that my grandfather used to tell. And he's like, yeah, and you guys had like a similar last name. And I was like, what? So then when he tells me, yeah, my grandfather's best friend was named Ron, I was like, okay, first of all, my last name is like a razor thin tree. Like, it's my direct relatives. And then there's another set of family that's like in Virginia. So there isn't many of us. And his name was my grandfather's last name. Or I was like, that's my grandfather's name. So we started going over stuff, and he starts explaining to him. And I look a lot like my grandfather, except he had the mustache, just the mustache, no goatee. But we had like the same hairline and everything. And I was like, dude.
Your name is not a common one.
I was like, dude, our grandfathers knew each other. Like, how the fuck? And where, like, the craziness of it all is the fact that, like, he was from another part of Jersey that my mom was living in at the time. And the fact that we even crossed paths is, like, amazing. And considering that, like, they were friends because they both lived in Pennsylvania. So it's like, what the fuck? What the fuck is going on? So yeah, it was rather intense. Really crazy. I've lived a crazy life. Lived a crazy fucking life. It says Peyton's here, but he's not in the voice channels. He's taking his time.
There was one interesting Men in Black video that I had seen once where it was supposedly a guy who worked at a hotel. I think it was like somewhere in like Southern California, maybe. I forget exactly where it was, but a guy who worked in a hotel and he saw craft, a UFO, flying around, and apparently he was like telling everybody about it. He's like, "Did nobody see it?" He like went out for a cigarette or something, and he just came back to us. Did anybody else see that? Oh my god! He started telling everybody, "Did you see this? Did you see this? Did you see this?" Got to a point where like two men in black suits that were very oddly shaped too. They didn't look. People would say like they didn't really look human. And but another interesting thing was like they had no eyebrows, no eyelashes, no facial.
Yeah, I know the ones you're talking about. The bald ones that are like completely bald.
Yeah, and like very pale, and they were like asking around like, "Where is this person? It's off today." And it's like they were like harassing other people. Like, what did he tell you? Like, and they eventually like left. But that was an interesting one. But they showed them on camera, and like
yeah, I've seen the video.
That was an interesting.
Or if it's either the video or the pictures, I can't remember which. But yeah, I've seen what you're talking about. They're odd looking cats.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about like the Men in Black stuff. Especially when it gets into like the Men in Black or like aliens themselves. Like I don't know where I fall on that, because it's like I said, like my family has had a direct interactions with the Men in Black. Now, granted, they could be FBI agents. Because my grandfather worked at the Pentagon, but I don't know. I don't know, and and it always kind of got like that. Always kind of put me on like a. Oh, Peyton's just gonna type it out. I'll read. I went to go to use the restroom one night, and when I finished in there, I opened the door and saw greenish eyes, and I was like, "What is going on?" So I walked up and saw a slight human shape and saw it moving around. Then it walked away, and then I saw a bright light, and that is why I think it might be real. Interesting. Keep hearing people talking outside.
Also interesting.
I got vacationers down next door. So where did you see the green eyes? Inside or outside of your house? So you saw the eyes outside your window, and then you saw a bright light, and then it was gone. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think
Did it ever happen? Go what?
there's
What?
one picture that I like. It's like one of the first pictures of like a man in black, where it's like the real Man in Black documentary. I gotta like rewatch these things.
I did watch that.
I gotta like. You ever watch Dark 5?
Yeah.
They had a good video of the like 5 creepiest sightings of Men in Black. There's one that's interesting. That was a guy that was based in New Jersey, or no, he was based in New Hampshire. But he was a psychologist, and he worked with this client who seeing him as a psychologist for his services, because he was trying to like process what he'd seen, and I think it was like an alien abduction thing or something. But apparently, someone who his wife and kid went out for the night. This is like in the 70s. His wife and kid went out, and as soon as they left, he gets a phone call, and he said someone saying he represent a UFOlogy. Got word of a thing you're working on, this case that you're working on. Can we have someone come and talk to you and interview you about it? I said, sure. All right, great. We'll send someone right over. So he puts down the phone, goes down the stairs, goes to turn on the front porch light, and he and as he's turning on the front porch light, there's this man in a black suit already walking up his steps. And like he just got off the phone with these guys, and he doesn't see a car in any direction. Like this is before like cell phones and stuff. And he opens the door, he goes inside, and the guy's like saying, we want all your files on that you're working on this case, and you will not say that you ever spoke with this person. I was never here, blah, 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 all that stuff. And the guy said, well, like, why do you want all this, like, this and that? He said, like, no, like, this is my work, this is my job, like, I can't just give you my files and this. and they were like making threats like, we know who you are, we know who your wife and child are right now. It would be in your best interest to give us these files if possible. And he described the guy again as like no eyebrows, no eyelashes, no hair, like very sickly, thin skin, and and it looked like as if he was wearing a stick and black suit and everything. At one point, he spoke in a very like robotic voice as well. And he said the strangest part was like as he's talking to this person, the guy just like his demeanor just changes completely, and he just stands up straight up and he goes like, "Have to recharge, must go now." Gets up, walks out of the house, and as he's walking down the sidewalk or in front of his house, he apparently just like disappears, like vanishes. That's an interesting story.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how much I buy that there are like. I don't know if I buy that there are either, because there's two ways that this could go. There's aliens in our government. Sure, there's a possibility. There's alien androids that work for our government, and I see what robots we have built right now, and I'm not impressed.
But those are also like robots that we have access to. The robots that the government have access to.
Yeah, I don't buy that.
On that level. Like GPS wasn't available. It was available to the military and the government first, and then eventually people had like the Garmin in their cars and for GPS, and now we have it in our phones.
Yeah, and the F-22 Raptor has been under development for like 30 years, and it still has bugs and falls out of the fucking sky randomly. And the F-35 is like barely airworthy.
Well, that might be a different. That's like military government. Like that, we're talking like deep state government, where they probably have
No.
Bob Lazar said they had in their facilities. They had a thing that was beyond a fingerprint scanner. It would scan your whole hand, but it didn't scan the prints of your hand. It scanned the distance, or it would scan like your bones or something, like your phalanges and your.
I'll scan your phalanges.
Don't make a promise you can't keep. Yeah, so I think that they have access to way better robotics, way better technology.
This is the thing. This is the thing. This is where I'm kind of iffy when it comes to like Bob Lazar. Some of the claims that he makes are sort of like the grandiose technology. It's like you said. How long did GPS exist before it was released to the public?
I have no idea how long.
Roughly 10 years. They were able to do global positioning tracking for roughly 10 years prior to it being released to the public. When it was released to the public, because they were worried about people hacking it and using it for nefarious purposes, they purposely made it unreliable for like for the second 10 years. And then when it started being attached to everybody's phone and they could use it to garner data, then it got accurate again. That's pretty much the cycle for how technology works when it comes to the government, like 100%.
So right here, actually, 1973, U.S. military began exploring the concept of satellite navigation. The first GPS satellite, Navstar 1, was launched by the U.S. Air Force in 1978, marked the beginning of global positioning system, nav satellite navigation. 1978 was 1993 was the GPS system achieved initial operation capability, and
because they realized they couldn't do it off of one satellite. They needed to have a network of satellites.
Yeah.
So then they started sending other satellites into the sky.
And then in 94, the full 24 satellite constellation was in orbit. But I think that since Roswell, since the 50s. I think that they've been reverse engineering technology, and we've slowly been
No.
taking that technology,
No,
reverse engineering it.
no. I don't think so.
47.
I don't think so, because if that was, I think I made this argument the last time. If that were the case, we would be fucking way further in our development. That's not what they're doing.
I don't know. I think that I believe that we have technology that's either been reverse engineered from crashed craft, and we've tinkered around and figured out, like, what makes it work, how does it do. And I think there's also been technology that's possibly been given to us by extraterrestrial people, maybe. I think because from the point you look at, like, from 1900 to 1950, the technology is pretty stagnant. But then you go from like 50 to 2000, and like computers, microcomputers, microprocessing, all like touch screens and all this stuff. I think there was such a huge leap in technology, and since the Roswell incident in 47, I think that had. Do you know where
that huge leap came from?
Where?
Microchips. That's it. Do you know when microchips were developed?
I do not.
So, the computers that my grandfather actually used to worked on vacuum tubes.
It is your destiny.
They were considered analog because they analog
1958, also known as the integrated circuit.
The first integrated circuit. And then, after they figured out how to make them like this big, they figured out how to make them this big, and then they figured out how to make them this big, and then they figured out how to make them
well, yeah, you look at
big.
IBM had that giant freaking hard drive that was only 5 megabytes. It was the size of like 2 refrigerators stacked on top of each other, and they had to have 2 guys pushing it onto a truck.
That's literally the computers. That's literally the computers that my grandfather helped develop.
Yeah, and now we have. You could.
He had to write out the circuitry.
You can put a terabyte on something the size of your pinky nail now.
Right. The first computer held something like, it was like 512 bytes. Like bytes, not megabytes, not kilobytes, fucking bytes.
First computer was the electro-numerical integrator, and computer is widely considered to be the first electronic general purpose computer. Was designed.
It's the size of a room.
Yeah, 1945.
Yep. My dad has been in that room. Was when it existed, because it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, it's an entire like circuits and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. They look like cabinets.
Yeah.
And my dad said you would take a card and you would punch out the holes of like what the equation was, and then you would put it in there, and the computer would read it, and then it would go through, and it would go through all this stuff, and it would make all this fucking noise, and then it would make its way all the way around to the other side, and then it would come out, and on the other side of the card would be your answer, your sum, and that's literally how they would calculate things. And it's because of that, and figuring out how to shrink it and 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 shrink it till they could eventually put it in a cell phone and a desktop computer that we're doing this with. That's the only thing. Like, from that point on, that's when they started coming up with being able to put it into a plane and putting in computer systems into all that other stuff. But there hasn't been any major leap of like what I was griping about 2 weeks ago. Oh, I'm totally down to hear a demon story.
Tyson, hop in general voice chat. You want to talk about that? We'll drag into the live.
That totally distracted me what I was saying. There has not been an actual like significant like where did this technology come from like ever. Technically, from what I understand, the original development of email, they thought was either was quantum computing, or they discovered quantum computing by accident because they were able to have instantaneous communication, and there was no wires. Like you could type out a thing and it would type out on another computer at the exact same time. And this was developed in like 80s, late 70s, 80s, before the internet ever existed. And then what they took from that became the internet. But when I was griping the other day about how we understand direct energy transfer of how to take radioactive material and turn it directly into energy. We know how to do that, and we've known how to do it for a long time at this point. That would be one of those things, but that would fucking catapult our entire race so far into the future. Why don't we do that? So when the argument is that we have alien technology that we are trying to reverse engineer, I balk because we have our own fucking technology that we don't even fucking use.
Well, see, that's the thing. I think that what people consider like deep state government, or like the people who are working on these things, I personally believe that it's there, but we don't have like we as like the regular population don't have access.
Tyson's incoming.
Oh.
You're gonna have to change.
Up,
you have to change cameras.
Yeah, I got it. Ty, what's going on, bud? Let me pull a string. He's not talking.
He's on mute. He's eating. I appreciate the courtesy, brother. Not chomping in everybody's ear. Take your time. Steve's got to fix things.
Yeah, I think there's more that we have that the government just doesn't tell us about.
I don't. Why are we just now being able to develop? See, this is the thing. Also, whatever you're actually finding out about in government development now is, again, 10 years old. So when you hear about like the new versions of like night vision that they're coming out with, which is like a night vision, thermal vision hybrid.
Yeah. It has, like,
we're already,
and stuff.
Yeah, we're already 10 years ahead of that.
This is interesting. I literally just went to Google, are aliens on Earth in 2025? And you know how like the Google AI just gives you like an answer? It says, an AI overview is not available for this search.
All right, Tyson, I think that's a good segue. Hit us with your story. Regale us.
So I was, it would have been 2019. I went to Missouri, visited my sisters, and we went. Let me use the stream real quick so I don't hear myself. I hate my voice. But I went down. Went over to visit them in Missouri, and we went to this I guess it's like an old church with like an unnamed marked witch grave in the corner, and you know they were gonna like play some pranks on me. So they're like, well, you can stay there for 5 minutes, and if you stand there in the church for 5 minutes and don't freak out, then you'll get some kudos from us. I'm like, 5 minutes in a graveyard at night, that's no problem. So I stood there and I started walking around a little bit, and I heard what I thought was my sisters in this old, beat up church. So I went into this church, and I remember immediately entering the church. It was a hot summer day, so it was not like it should be freezing. I entered the church and it was like literally freezing. I was like, what the hell? Like, immediate shivers down my back. I will also say that the story, I do not do any drugs and I was not drunk. I don't drink either. So there's no way that I had any influence of anything. And walked into the church, and I immediately started seeing like two red eyes. Just totally on the opposite side, like where the podium is for where the priests speak and everything like that. There were two red eyes. And I'm like, okay, my sisters are playing a prank on me because, I play pranks, they play pranks, we're the same blood. I'm like, this has got to be a prank. I walk up to it, and no matter how close I get to it, those red eyes continue to remain about, that far away from me. And there's no way that those eyes remained that same exact distance. Even as I closed in on that other side of that wall, those red eyes were still the exact same distance from me. And so I finally got up there to where the podium was. I'm like, okay, well, I literally remember saying, all right, well, whatever this is, show yourself. This is really good. Like, I'm all into the special effects. I'm like, this is good special effects. Let me know how you're doing this. And all I could hear was someone somewhere. I can't pinpoint where in the room. I mean, it's like, those old churches in the middle of, the Midwest, where it's like there's a podium, an aisle, and then like the pews on the side. Small pews, not like humongous pews like a mega church. That's literally all it was. And somewhere in that room, I heard a voice that said, "We're just observing you."
Oh.
And I'm like, okay. I'm not gonna say my sister's name, but I called my sister out. I'm like, okay, that's a good one. You guys got me. And it was literally, "We're not your sister." Multiple voices. Now I only had two sisters. There's no way they could record. I mean, there's like no way it was
Lock
like
that up.
yeah, literally no way that they could do that. And so I remember distinctively reaching out, grabbing something, and the eyes disappeared. Now, I had a flashlight on my phone. I whipped it out. There was literally nothing I could have grabbed. No wires, nothing. Now, flash forward a year and a half later, I'm back in California. I go to this cemetery near me. You can actually look it up. It's the Fairhaven Cemetery in Orange County. And there's a rumor that there is a Victorian clad lady that walks the cemetery at night. So I'm like, oh, I gotta go see this with a couple of my friends. Didn't see her, but I saw the two red eyes again.
Ooh.
And I said to them, I'm like, are you the same red eyes that I saw in Missouri? And they're like, no, we are their brother. Well, you killed our demon. I can't explain that. All I know is that I was in the center of the graveyard, and then I was to my car and down the street by the time I even had time to process what had transpired.
Fucking beating street as fast as you can.
There was no hesitation, but that has literally freaked me out. I mean, you can talk to Peyton, you can talk to my friends at the time. Like, it literally was about 2 years ago when that happened, and literally after that, everything paranormal. Like, I watch YouTube videos on it. It's like I was never into paranormal until then. I cannot explain what happened. I know for a fact I was not on drugs. I know for a fact I was not drinking because I was driving home that night. And when I'm driving, I don't drink. I mean, ask anyone. I just simply don't drink. I can't explain what that was.
So, just quick little, it's always in the language because they love to play with words.
Mm-hmm.
But you said, "Are you my sisters?" And they specifically said, "We are not your sisters."
They specifically said we.
We. Oh, I'm getting fucking goosebumps now.
Mm-hmm.
This is John's bread and butter right here. We love talking about that stuff.
And the other part that you said, that we are just observing you, is very poignant, because if you are familiar with the Book of Enoch,
Mm-hmm.
okay, the ones that fell to earth were known as the Watchers.
Mm-hmm.
So all the demons that are on this planet, most of them, not going to get too technical with it, but the original ones that fell were from a specific classification of angel known as the Watchers. And their whole point was to watch humans and report back their deeds. So.
And I did not know that at that time either. I was totally unfamiliar with the Book of Enoch at that point.
Pretty fucking wild.
Yeah. And the fact that those red eyes disappeared after I reached out and touched something, and then that year later, they're like, "You killed our brother." I don't know what that was. Like, I literally came back and never told a single soul this, because at first off, I was like freaked out. Never told a single soul this. No one in California knew about it. Not even my sisters really know about what transpired. So there's no way anyone could like take that from Missouri, travel to California, and re-implement that
somewhere
in
else.
A totally separate. Like, this is the first time I've actually really talked about it.
Unless they had like divine knowledge, like a spirit.
Exactly. And I don't know.
You don't deal with anything around you, like you're
occasionally like when I'm watching like Nuke Stop 5 or something like that. I'm not trying to shout them out, but like there'll be like a door that's like the other day, like I was watching one and I thought someone was knocking at my door. Like there was a scratch on my door. I opened the door and there was nothing there. I think it was my dog who was just adjusting, but then I remember looking back and like, my dog's at the foot of my bed. My door is like maybe like 5 feet away.
Mm-hmm.
There's been like a flickering of a light in my bathroom. Like I have a series of lights, but again, we've had an electrician come out and he just replaced the bulb and it stopped. "Quote unquote," replaced the bulb.
All right, I need you to do something for me.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like you're going through some shit. It's taking its time, because usually it's a little accelerated, but usually this means that like you're not willing to participate in their plan. I
believe there's a spirit world around us. I mean, if someone wants to say something, I'm open for it, but
there totally is. 110%, there totally is a spirit world around us at all times. But the knock on the door, that's not a good thing. I'm laughing because I'm trying to break the tension, because I don't want to I don't want this to sound contrived, but the knocking on the door is not good. And if it begins to escalate, get in touch with me.
Okay. I mean, I've prayed over my room. I prayed over my house.
Good.
Since then, I haven't had anything. Good. Yeah.
Good.
But it was definitely weird. Like, I've literally been turned off to watching Nuke Stop 5 because of that situation that transpired.
Yeah. Because like that, you've heard the rule of like with vampires and stuff like that, you have to welcome them into your life.
Mm-hmm.
That's not vampires. That's demons. That's legit demons. That's where all that came from.
I also heard that if you hear a knock on your door, you're not supposed to open it for like 5-10 minutes or something like that, because they are super impatient. I don't know if that's true or not, but I literally waited like an hour before I opened my door. First off, I was fucking terrified. I was like sitting in my chair and like, hello?
Yeah. You're not supposed to greet them. You should probably say a prayer before you do open the door.
But like my friends, it's like, oh, you should get a Ouija board. And like, I'm like, bro, I'm not doing that shit. Are you fucking kidding me? No, thank you.
No, thank you. Absolutely no, thank you. So big nope.
But yeah, to this day, it baffles me. Like, the two events, the cemetery and the cemetery in Missouri, I've literally never told. I've told like bits and pieces of it, but not the whole thing. So there's no way someone knows.
Yeah.
In the two places that far in a difference of what transpired.
You basically have two situations that are going on in that. Either you stumbled across someplace that he was already haunting, that he was already waiting, looking for prey, and essentially you walked in being the prey.
Mhm.
Or you had something that was watching you for a while. Now, if you had no other previous like experience that like something odd or along those lines, and then you probably wandered into that. And then because of your interaction with him, I don't necessarily see this is the thing. They're liars. They're outright liars.
Oh, absolutely. But like I said, you called in question like we. To my knowledge, they always refer to themselves in third person. We. And I didn't know that at the time.
Yep.
I didn't know that until maybe like, 2 years ago or something like that. A whole year and a half after what transpired. So there's no way that, like, I'm telling every time I've told the story, I've always said we. That's what I heard. My sisters, when I said, "Oh, were you guys in the church?" and they're like, "No, we weren't." Like, I saw them coming up the hill from where they were, like, there was like a little tree and like they were walking up the hill. So unless they're like super speed, which hell, if they have super speed, teach me. But
yeah, please.
There's no way they were in that church at that time. And
What?
the fact that the church was freezing also doesn't make sense. And I forget the church name. I remember the street name. It's literally in Monette, Missouri. And there's like two cemeteries on the other side of it on the same road. So I could look it up on Google. But it's like a desanctified church as well. Like, it's no longer in operation.
So then, yeah, you probably, because they like to defile things like that, you probably wandered into a situation where, now this is the part that, so the whole Faustian deal that they try and do is they want you to feel powerful. They want to give you the perception that if you believe in them, if you follow them or you deal with them, that you're going to gain power.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my screen just flickered. So,
no, just kidding.
Yeah, no, because me and Steve were talking about this. I'm dealing with some shit right now. So what they will try and do is they will try and entice you. They will try and tempt you.
Demons chiming in from other rooms. You call me?
Yeah, right.
Hey,
So
Bob, what's going on?
the story that they were developing with you, that you killed one of them, is
Mhm.
probably a lie to try and entice you to make you feel powerful so that
But
you
it
get
was the
drawn in
same
by
voice,
curiosity. Huh?
It was the same voice.
Exactly. That's exactly
So
my
there's
point.
no way, yeah.
That's exactly my point. He wants you to think that you're powerful, that you're special, that you're well, I need to look into this. And that's when you open the door and you welcome that shit into your life. And then it starts picking you apart. And then it starts preying on your fear. And then it starts preying on all that stuff. So if you pray, keep praying.
Yeah. Here's my other question for you. Maybe you
Sure.
know this. Like recently at my job, like, we have these really, really long hallways between these doors and whatnot. I want your opinion on this. We have, hallway with, storage units left and right, on either side. When I'm there with my other assistant manager, walking through the hallways, everything's normal. When I'm by myself, I swear, like, I will like turn the corner, I'll see like a foot or something like leaving beside the room.
Like a shadow person?
Like a shadow person, but the lights are on. And like, I'll turn the corner and it looks like, it's possible that it's another person, we're storage facility, public storage. We have people in there all the time. Could be turning the corner, but I swear to God, every single time I'm in like this, it's not in like C, we have multiple buildings, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. It's always in the C building. It's never in the B building, never in the A building, never in the G building, always in the C building. It's always at this one, like, it's divided in half. It's always on this one side. And I swear to you, I've seen someone around that corner all the time. It's just for a second. It's like they're just turning that corner. Every time I would turn a corner in there. And it's very weird. Like, I will not enter the C building now without my assistant manager with me.
Trust your gut.
Yeah.
Trust your gut.
But that's my story.
I would look into maybe doing like maybe a quick little research to see if anything ever happened, if a body was ever found in that building.
Never was.
And then
I mean, it's
would,
California. It's an Indian burial ground if we're really going to go on that. Sorry, Native American.
Then there's also the option thereof. Is there any delinquent storage spaces in there that haven't been checked yet?
A lot, actually. We have a auction on the 13th.
In that building?
In particular, in that building, we have, I think, 8 storage units that are going to auction on the 13th, and it's only really started like within the last month since we set them for auction.
Well, maybe somebody will find something. Or then there's also the other option that there might be something that's being stored there that might be an icon, something that a spirit is tied to, that it's moving around in that space. You don't know until you go through stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, definitely. Please.
But
really
that's my story.
I appreciate it, dude. I thank you for sharing. That was really cool. And like I said, if things start accelerating, get in touch with me. Okay.
Things start accelerating. I'm definitely contacting my local priest. Don't worry.
Yeah, that's yes.
Raptor Chad says, "Don't spirits attach to things?"
Yes, they can. They can. They don't always, but they can.
Well, we have someone who claims that in this particular unit, I mean, she's claiming it. I'm not actually sure if we can say this, but it's basically what happened in World War II to a certain race.
Oh.
She claims she has items in there of that particular time frame. So it could be.
I don't know if you're watching the stream, but my hands are in the air.
Yeah. I have a delay.
Well, there's your problem.
Well, there's your problem.
Your storage unit ain't got no gas in it.
Oh God. But I mean, that's possible. But again, I don't know. Like I'm like this straight up skeptic. Like, oh, something like unless I physically like see actual physical proof. Like even going back with that, those 2 separate situations that transpired. I don't know. I can't explain it, so I'm just like trying to like rationalizing in my mind. And I'm saying, I remember being super tired that day.
Yeah,
so
I get that.
I'm guessing maybe I remember the day when I went over to Fairhaven. Like I literally did not sleep the night before because I was prepping the cameras, everything like that. So 24-hour period, I could have easily hallucinated. That's my explanation.
Understandable. The human mind's going to try and rationalize it, but the reality is they are a consciousness and they have targets that they will go after, and skeptics are targets because who better to deny their existence?
Exactly.
And the greatest trick the devil ever played was making people believe that he wasn't real. That goes for every evil spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And just like any predator, they don't want you to know that they're there until they got their teeth ready to sink into you. So that's why I'm saying, like, be careful, stay, if you're religious.
I have another story that revolves around another one of my churchgoers, if you want to hear it.
Sure.
It's not a first person encounter, but it is.
That's okay.
So I was talking. His name is David. He's a longtime Christian, even more of a Christian than I am. And he said that he went through a particularly nasty breakup that ended in an unfortunate divorce. And he found that his wife was literally into the occult. So he moved out of that house, literally sold it. Like, goodbye, good riddance, I'm out. The only thing you can really do, right? and he had our pastor and priest come over and sanctify the new house and everything like that, because that's what just as a welcome in. Anyway, he about 6 months after moving in lost his job totally randomly for something that was totally not his doing in any way, shape, or form. Strange things started happening.
Like a really bad string of really bad luck.
Really bad luck. Literally 6 months and 6 days, and he said 6-6. All you need is the next 6, and you got the 3 6s, right? But he said that he was literally on the phone with our pastor, saying, I'm getting ready to move again because this is going on. And the pastor's like, my pastor's like, you know what? Just turn your camera on really, really quickly on your phone. We're gonna do a video call here, and I'm gonna pray over the house, over the phone, and pray over you. So he turns the camera on, and I've seen footage that my pastor recorded, and he's like, he believes in the devil and everything like that, but he's like a skeptic, right? Anyway, he said that on the footage, when he called David, the footage was very distorted right behind him.
Mm.
And then when he finally finished praying over it, both of them heard the door to his apartment open up and slam.
Mm.
Right after they quote unquote sanctified the house.
Mm-hmm.
He moved.
Yeah, I would too.
But I've seen the footage. It's literally, as clear as like your camera's on Twitch, right next to him, as if like you move Steve down behind you, and you have both those heads. Right next to him, it was totally blurry, and there was a picture right behind him. So there were, my pastor literally said it felt like there was something there.
Mm.
And he was alone in the house, and David is not up to buff on any, like he can barely even turn his computer on.
So it's not.
So there's no way he can do that. Yeah.
Right.
But and he's
it's not like, it's also like,
closes.
It's not like he's doing it for YouTube either. This wasn't like a public thing, so it's not like.
No,
what is
he's
this going
pretty
to
much.
garner?
Yeah, he's pretty much kept it entirely a secret.
Right. Well, the interesting part about that is that there's a third party in this situation, and that would be the ex. And I wouldn't be surprised if she didn't hex him or do something along those lines.
Yeah, she was very like, she would have like dead crows in their basement in Orange and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. But welcome to California.
Yeah, man.
But that's my other story for you.
I appreciate it, brother. I definitely appreciate you sharing. Very cool.
It's been a pleasure. I'll keep you updated on everything.
Yeah. Yes, please.
But if Steve doesn't see me at some point, he can update you what happened.
Well, you can always just direct message me on here. That's cool.
No, I mean, if like I suddenly randomly disappear.
Oh, yeah, that would suck.
Steve's gonna get all of my Star Wars stuff.
Don't make promises.
Yeah, right.
You don't want to do that.
Wait.
He'll get my autographed Coyote Mundi lightsaber.
Dude. You might see a different type of demon real quick. Steve just shows up to your house like, you said what now? How good can you swim?
I can swim really well. How about with an anchor? Not so good. All right, well, I'm going to bid you guys a fond farewell. This has been great.
You got it,
Thank you
guys.
so
I
much.
appreciate it.
No problem. Enjoy.
Good night. Oh, that was pretty. Yeah. Couple good ones. I worry about him.
Yeah.
A little concerned.
Anyone else
Say a
who
prayer.
Has a story and they'd like to chime in as well on that?
Yeah, most definitely.
Feel free. Yeah, I used to be a bit skeptical as well, especially during my years as I grew up. the more experiences I had, the more things I began to see and hear and experience. It was just, I was like, all right, there's something going on here. Where like,
there is something greater than I.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Most definitely. And like I said, well, it's just like I said, it ties in.
Yeah, I just fixed the tie.
Oh, cool.
Appreciate the heads up.
They target skeptics. They target atheists because atheists are skeptics. A lot of times atheists don't believe in God, so they also don't believe in a spirit world. They target, and also a lot of times atheists because they are so not aggressive, but obtuse against God. They welcome that directly into their lives. So that's why, and you know, there's you hear about the exorcisms of people who are resistant to it, that maybe are having buyer's remorse, that they welcomed it into their life because they played with a Ouija board, or they hung out in graveyards, or they did certain things where these things habitate, and it came into their life, and now they're regretting it, but it's starting to take over their life, and they don't know what to do about it. Because there are certain steps that, like, once you welcome it too far into your life, it takes more than just a simple prayer. When you start to, like we've talked about this, when you openly distance yourself from God, then it starts taking over. Now, granted, when you start pushing yourself back towards God, it's hard to explain. Essentially, they just start attacking you, and they start preying upon you. And because you've welcomed it, you've invited it. So it's hard, but essentially, the ones you never hear about, the ones that you don't see, the ones that you don't realize, are not the ones that are violently thrashing and fighting it. The ones that are out doing stuff. We talked about this. Jesus has a special spot for the poor. There's a reason why they prey on the poor. They're weak and they are under attack. And so then that's why when you see, you hear about situations like the guy with the hatchet, who, you know, he was the hatchet hero, but the more you got to know him, the more you realized something was off. You know what I'm talking about? And I'm not going to sit here and say like all mental health and all mental disorders are demons are to blame. No, the violent ones are. Those are the ones.
Now,
sorry,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Now, for those who probably would be unaware, what are or maybe just don't believe, what are some ways that they can prey on you and attack you and maybe physically or even mentally, emotionally do harm?
So it usually starts with invasive thoughts. That's usually where it begins. See, this is the thing. If Tyson was religious prior to this, when you are openly religious, you accept Jesus into your heart and as your savior, you're kind of protected. You're not kind of protected. You're protected. So they may do some other things to try and suck you out of that. To like I just said to him, they were trying to prey upon his curiosity. To go, I'm powerful. Well, how was I able to do that? Could you explain this to me? Could you show me how I could do more of this? I want to be, and sometimes they play the like, I'm your friend and I can make you more powerful, and you know, if you do this and then you do this, and every time that you do this, whatever it may be, take all the crosses down in your house, or denounce the name of God, or something along those lines, little steps, little itty bitty steps, then they're going to suck you out of that protection zone. And once you do that, and then you invite them into your life, that's when they start becoming physical. Now, there's other situations like we were talking about his friend, David, who his ex may have, because she was already in the home, she already has an attachment to him. She can circumvent some of that stuff by his belongings and attaching things to his belongings and stuff like that. That's another way. But the easiest prey are people who are not expecting it. So skeptics and atheists. So when you see these people, and this is going to sound, I don't know how to say this, but when you see these people on television and they're protesters and they're hyper violent and they're also like atheists. Have you ever like, to me, there's a look. Once you know the look, you know whether a person's welcomed it into their life or possessed. I sent you that one video of the guy who was talking like about he got this drink and he's talking about this and that and da da da, and he picks up the phone and he just starts going, help, and his eyes don't move.
Yeah.
And he's screaming,
yeah,
help me, help me. That's a possession. Legit.
I remember that
because
that you sent me.
It's in the eyes. It's always in the eyes. You know how many people, how many people do you know smile like this? Or actually, I can't even do it because I can't even do it because my eyes are too expressive. But
Mr.
who do you know? Interesting name.
Right.
And what do they always deal in? They always deal in power and money, baby. I've been since a very young age. I've seen that look. The dude's face turned once, then immediately back. Yes, that's yes. And it has the problem is that currently, in the current state of affairs in the world, there is a certain level of beliefs that align with their beliefs. And so it thus becomes easy to take over those people as prey. Yes, they contort it unnaturally because it's an affront to God.
Yeah, I've never. That one video that you sent me where the guys was just yelling like, how, like,
Fucking disturbing.
it's tough because like people will see that,
And
Just
he's just
immediately
joking.
think-
He's doing it for TikTok.
or he's like, well, not even that, but they'll just say like, oh, he's just crazy. People are very
Dismissive.
Yes.
Because they're dismissive of it, because the reality is if you admit that there's demons, there is an implicit admission that goes with that. If you believe that demons exist, they came from somewhere. Right?
Yeah. They can't, like, well, that's another thing. Demons come from, like, are demons, this is another, like, are demons just,
If you admit that demons exist, there is an implicit admission that you have to believe in God too. Because you can't have one without the other.
yeah, that's my dad doesn't.
Hell's a little. I got some fair arguments that it doesn't exist in the way that we believe that it does. I got some fair beliefs but because I've heard the argument that we actually are living in hell. This is the devil's playground.
Yeah.
This is, it says in the Bible that the devil is the god of this earth, and you have to choose to not follow him. So, I mean, there is some arguments.
I would believe that this is like hell is on earth, and it's
No worries, Tyson. You're good.
what's the other thing?
I don't think that I don't necessarily agree that this is hell. I feel like this is a testing ground, and you either harden your spirit, or you sharpen your spirit, or you lose your spirit. That's my belief.
I agree.
They love to isolate. That was another part that I was actually going to bring up. They love to isolate people. So when you start losing all of your friends around you for weird fucking reasons and things that don't make any sense, ways that you're not even able to defend yourself. Steve, does that sound familiar?
Not
To
really.
me,
No, I would
people that you would consider friends and would go to bat for and help out
Oh
and
yeah.
get them into their positions, and then they all turn on you at once because they're doing evil and fucking narcissistic shit.
I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's the same one. That's the same one that I'm dealing with right now. It was super odd in a way that you weren't even able to defend yourself. And what do they deal? What do they deal in? Power and money. And what were they going for, my old friends?
I remember.
Power and money.
Interesting.
And I know for a fact that that place is possessed. That building is possessed. I even told you that. I told you that place was. I told you that place was infested.
I've had a few people tell me they've seen and heard
Mhm.
things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because why not? It's a den of sin. It is a den of vice.
God, I wish I had a drink right. I just want a whiskey sour. That'd
But-
be great.
As I've told you, and I tell everybody else, that all it takes is the belief in Jesus. That's it. You just got to believe that he existed at one point in time. You got to believe that he's your savior, that he saved. If you believe that he existed, that means that you believe that he did what he did, which means that you believe that he is the savior. You can't half-ass it. Like, there's no way to be like, oh, I think he existed, but he was just a human being. That's a cop-out, and then you're negating a part of his life, which was the resurrection. So it's like,
And what would you say to people who perhaps don't believe that he did exist? That he believed he exists in the spiritual sense, but not the physical sense that he walked on earth. What would you say to people who yeah, I believe in it. I believe in Jesus. He's my savior. Blah blah.
you mean people who believe that it was just a myth, that he never existed and it's just stories?
Yeah.
You're fooling yourself. Read the book again. I don't. For fuck's sake, I was just reading something today that literally Socrates in 300 BCE actually predicted the Jesus, like, to a T. Did you know that?
I did not know that. Socrates was.
Oh, Plato. I'm sorry. Wait. Yeah, the philosophical discourse in Plato's Republic predicted Jesus. In the course of listing
Plato,
various...
right?
It was Plato, yes. That's where I messed up. In the course of listing various pagan prophecies about creation, the Sabbath, and other biblical themes, Clement of Alexandria came to one prophecy in which he said Plato all but predicts the history of salvation. This remarkable passage is from a dialogue between Socrates, no, I was right, it was Socrates, right? And Glaucon in Book 2 of Plato's Republic, drawing a distinction between righteousness and unrighteousness. Glaucon postulates that instead of beings who are both righteous and unrighteous, as most of us are most of the time, there would arise one unrighteous man who is entirely unrighteous and one righteous man who is entirely righteous. Let this one righteous man in his nobleness and simplicity, one who desires in the worlds of, I don't know how to pronounce that, Acilius, to be a good man and not merely to give the impression of being a good man. Now, be accused of being in fact the worst of men. Let him, moreover, remain steadfast to the hour of death, seeming to be unrighteous and yet being righteous. What will be the outcome? The answer for those gruesome Glaucon apologies in advance to Socrates must be nothing more than the following. He shall be scourged, tortured, bound, his eyes burn out, and at last, after suffering every evil, shall be impaled or crucified. Other translations say impaled, not crucified. This is indeed the message of the gospel that Jesus Christ lived the perfect life and died for all of our sins. All matter of wickedness was done against him, although he never committed a sin. Although he was accused of committing all sorts of blasphemies and heresies. And that came 365 years before Jesus was born.
I'm gonna say that's a.
That's pretty interesting.
There's a lot of things that philosophers have. It's the big one. Nostradamus was a big one. Where, like, how do you think these people in that day and age would just think like, I think this is going to happen? Like, do you think that they just had these dreams and then they would write down their dreams?
Nutmeg.
Nutmeg. What about it? Like, you want to what are we talking about? Why would you say that after I just asked you this question and you're just like, nutmeg?
So, here, allow me to proceed again.
Please.
Nutmeg.
Because I have no idea what the fuck, why you're...
Hallucin...
70% of Nostradamus' predictions actually came true. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's...
Yeah. Yes, nutmeg can cause hallucinations when consumed in large doses. The psychoactive effect are primarily attributed to a compound, myristicin. This is for educational purposes only, and I am not telling anybody to do this. According to Wikipedia, ingesting nutmeg in excessive amounts can lead to a range of symptoms, including disorientation, stupor, euphoria, visual and auditory hallucinations. It was documented that Nostradamus would take nutmeg and stare into a bowl, also known as a black mirror, which is also something that other people would do. And it also has to deal strictly with Hermeticism, which is something else we touched on last week in the after show. So, yeah, he would trip. He would literally trip and stare into a black mirror, and he would get these visions.
Well, okay,
and
so
then he would write down those visions.
have you? I'm sure you have. This is a stupid question. Of course you have. Do you have you seen these videos or even like read on these things where people are essentially taking DMT and staring at lasers?
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
Back when I used to clinically study LSD, we used to do the same thing. And we used to see the same thing.
Really?
Yes.
What did you see?
I used to have this laser, and me and a couple of friends used to partake. I don't know where they got it from. I used to get it from them, and I cannot attest. But I will say that when you take hallucinogenics, it opens up your mind to see patterns. And when you take a laser and you do a circle, all of a sudden Mandelbrot sets come out of nowhere. Now you'll look at everything else, and everything else will warp and shift. The floor will look like waving grain and all that stuff. You won't see anything that particularly, I've taken some massive doses, that will, like, when people tell you like, oh, the devil came out of the floor and there was a portal and this and it. No, never, at least not in my book. I've never dealt with that. I mean, I think that if you were trying to get to that level, you'd have to eat like an entire sheet of the stuff, which you're putting yourself at risk of dying. But we used to take a laser and put it up on the ceiling because it was white and was a good projection background. And on the outside, it would be blackness. And on the inside, you would see these Mandelbrot sets that would literally zoom in forever into infinity. And it looked like a portal. And a Mandelbrot set is a mathematical equation that goes on forever. That is also based off of the golden ratio, which is that thing that I told you that when I said that God created all of the world and all of everything, but he cheated a little bit because he worked the golden ratio into everything from our fucking DNA to the way that plants grow.
Yeah, that one I actually do wholeheartedly.
Yes. One day he's going to yell at me for that, but I don't care because I hope he gets a laugh out of it. I didn't cheat.
I really, I've always wanted to.
But you got to be, for anybody who knows, you got to be careful playing around with mind altering substances because it opens yourself up to weakness that allows this kind of shit to come into your life. So that's why when you hear about people who do hallucinogenics and it breaks their brain, it's because they were not rooted in themselves to know who they are and who their Lord is and who all of this and who actually is the Lord of this world. And you got to be fucking anchored to play around with that stuff because you're playing around with things that can twist you the fuck up. Tyson, it was a pleasure, brother.
Take it easy, have fun. Wait, he's playing Darktide.
I gotta jump in on Darktide with them one night.
Oh, you would have a blast.
Send me your do you play on computer or do you play on Xbox? Because I'm on Xbox, and if it's cross compatible, just send me your invite. So the Black Mirror thing is very interesting because it has ties to Hermeticism.
What is Hermeticism?
And I also love the fact that they came out with a TV show by the exact same name so that it makes it virtually impossible to look this shit up. Hermeticism is the predecessor to alchemy. And it was books. I believe it's 3 books that make it up, and they're all written by Hermes Trismegistus. And yeah. Okay, the connection between the show Black Mirror and Hermeticism lies in the use of the term Black Mirror as a scrying tool. You know what scrying is, right?
From Elder Scrolls Online.
No. Scrying is exactly what Nostradamus was doing by taking hallucinogenics, looking into a black mirror, and then writing down what he saw. That's scrying.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's also known as a scrying mirror.
Got it.
The AI answered this one with no problem. In Hermeticism, black mirror is a tool used for scrying or gazing into the mirror to seek visions or insights into the future or other realms. The show Black Mirror also uses the term Black Mirror to represent the reflection of technology on society and the potential dangers of its overuse. Or they're hinting at the fact, because one of the big things when it comes to Hermeticism is they have to tell you what they're about to do before they do it so that you believe it. So it's called precognition, so that you accept it, which has a lot to do with the demonic shit that I was talking about. Because if you pre-accept it, then you allow the spell and ritual to be done to you. And what do we walk around in our fucking pockets all day, every day? That looks like a black mirror. Now, the other part
go
about
back to flip phones.
Absolutely. The other part about this is one of the predictions that I made is that the number of the beast is not 666. Everybody will be issued a number, and they will not be able to buy or sell, and it will be in their right hand or their forehead. Now, if you were a ancient scribe who's writing down what they see, and they don't know how to explain what they're seeing, but you see people, I don't know what I did with my cell phone, which is perfectly good, but you see people walking around like this in their right hand and the reflections on their face. How do you describe that? Tell me how you do business if you don't have a cell phone. Tell me how you get a job if you don't have a cell phone. And everyone will accept it, because that's the other part. People will accept it unwillingly or unknowingly. Cool. Got it. I'll make sure I send you a request.
And that says a lot about us as people.
It got worked into our psyche before we even understood it. Yep. And it started out with fucking candy bar cell phones. Or actually, it started out with the bricks and the candy bar cell phones and then the sliders. And it just had to get better and better and better. But now, look at what it's done to people. TikTok, Instagram, all Discord, all of the major, like, if you want to be fucking famous, it ain't on television anymore, bud. It's on a fucking cell phone. How do you buy and sell without the number of the beast?
I think that's a big part of, like, we as a society have become so dependent on them.
It's beyond dependence. It's not dependence. Your convenience became mandatory. We have to have it. You can have a landline, but if you want to,
enjoying this episode, glad to hear it, Raven. Well, Raven, you claim to be a witch. John, what's your take on witches?
it's never too late. Listen, I am not a charlatan. I will tell you flat out that I have dabbled in. Listen, I'm a wealth of knowledge because I've studied alchemy and hermeticism, and I've done black magic, and I have dealt with all this stuff, and I have dealt directly with demons, and I know what they're all about, and I know how to deal with them. I've been in that realm and I've rejected it because you're not always making a deal with the devil for your soul. A lot of people will make deals with even lesser fucking demons. I mean, if you're going to fucking do it, make sure you do it right. But
Yeah.
demons know. They sit and they watch and they listen and they wait for you. They wait for that sign of weakness. They wait to know what you want. Then they figure out ways to trade it so that they can get your soul eventually. And all they want to do is separate you from God, because it's been a war to prove that the devil is stronger than God. Some people just want to have control of their lives, and to them, that's power. And the demons deal in power. Right now on my screen, you have a bug crawling on your face.
Really?
Yes. Some weird looking fucking fly.
Must be on your screen.
Yeah, it's on my screen.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I don't see anything on my.
Yeah, it's on my screen. Yeah, you're the brightest thing on my screen, so.
That's me.
I am. We've talked about this. I am not one of those Christians. I'm not Christian. I'm a follower of Christ. I do not believe in the organization of the Christian religion. I will not judge people by the choices that they make in their life. I am an open door and willing to accept anyone and everyone. I don't judge. And I will just tell you how it is. I'm probably one of the most dangerous things when it comes to the devil, because I know how he walks and what he does and how he speaks and how he smells, and I'm willing to fight him, which is exactly the reason why I think I'm dealing with the things that I'm dealing with, because I'm dangerous to them.
Do you feel like people who, because I actually went to church today. My nephew.
Interesting.
And of course my sister had to make a comment like, "I'm surprised you came. Like the church would burn down if you walked in here." And because I don't really make fun or maybe I do, like I poke fun and I tease here and there about religion, but I also ask questions because I'm like, well, why blah blah blah. So because I like to hear their take on it, because they're my family's always been very Catholic, and maybe you can answer this for me. Like, what's the difference between like a Catholic and a Christian? They both believe in God. They're two, but they're like two separate things, right?
So Catholics are sort of I don't want to say it in a way that's like demeaning, because it's not. It's an archaic style of religion. They believe in Latin Mass. They believe that the true translation is Latin. So they perform a lot of medieval rituals. And they also give reverence to Mary more than any other religion. Because in their eyes, she is the Ark of the Covenant. She is the womb of Christ. So they give a lot more reverence to her. I'm not saying that they're wrong. I just don't pray to Mary. I do what God says, and I only pray to God. Now, I will give reverence. I give love. She is the mother of my Savior. So I love her, but I will never pray directly to her for anything. I also don't believe in praying for saints. And a lot of Catholics believe in saints, and a lot of Catholics believe in praying to saints, and I don't believe in that either. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm not. You believe in Christ whichever way you want to believe in Christ. But it's not my cup of tea. because what is that called? Sism and voodoo. There's a specific name for when they cross syncretism. Syncretism, they cross voodoo, and because hoodoo, which is actually African, was not allowed to be practiced in the presence of Catholics, and because a lot of these people who did practice it in the presence of Catholics were slaves, so it was a slave religion. They would hide it by, I forget exactly, I think it's syncretism. So they would pretend they were praying to a Catholic saint, but they were actually praying to a voodoo god. And that's my problem. If you allow that, then you allow that. If you allow people to pray to saints for things, I will give reverence to something. And that's where it comes down to, is I will never directly pray to a saint. Do I respect him for the things that he did in his life and the sacrifices that he made and the martyrdom that he did? Yes, absolutely. That's hypocritical. He sacrificed his life for Christ. Most of the saints were tortured to death. Most of them are martyrs. Almost all of them are martyrs and died in horrific ways. Do I send love their way? Yes. Do I pray for them? Yes. I pray for their lives, or I pray for their souls. But I won't, pray to St. Anthony to help me, or I won't pray to St. Jude for lost causes. And no, I will carry an emblem thereof, because it's so that I can pay reverence to them, but I won't pray to it. Because the only person you can pray to, the only person you should pray to, is the Lord himself, period.
Yeah.
He says that, worship no other gods before me. That also means don't pray to anybody else.
Now, here's another
That
question.
didn't exactly answer your question either.
No, but it was still insightful, and I appreciate it.
Basically, what it comes down to is that all of these names are the different ways at which they pray or believe that rights should be given in their church. I don't believe in church, period. I don't believe in the organization. I don't believe that it's a patriarchy of another man telling me how to live my life. The only person that tells me to live how my life is God, and he does that through a book that I read. And I don't need anything else. I don't need another man to give me his interpretations. Some people could say that's wrong, but I don't care, because it's my relationship to God, period.
And one of the other questions I had, so like people, when you pray, that you're essentially you're praying to communicate with God.
Yeah.
When is it possible to use prayer to communicate? Like, say if like someone is grieving for a lost family member, and they try to pray and communicate with them specifically. It's
not healthy.
It's not
healthy.
Would that be considered like a no-no?
Necromancy is highly frowned upon by any religion.
Would be considered necromancy. Yeah, I know Ouija boards are like a.
If the dead reach out to you, completely different story. Completely different story. If they reach out to you and they approach you in a dream or something along those lines, completely different story. Completely different situation.
Yeah, I told you about
but
that one.
If you go calling, God's not the only one listening.
Yeah. I think it's like a.
There's a lot of other things watching and observing.
Yeah. So I've like tried, kid, like I was trying to like reach out to my brother. I remember doing that.
It's I hate to say that it's dangerous.
I agree. I think I was also very younger.
So please go ahead and I'll follow up.
I think those were kind of the only questions I had.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of people mock the Ouija board because it's made by Milton Bradley, and sure, it's a board game technically, sure. But it's a real
I'm not
scrying.
moving it. You're moving it.
Yeah, I'm not moving it. You're moving it. It is a real scrying tablet. Like, it's no different than if you did the exact same thing, carved the letters into the thing, and put the
Spoiler
planchet
alert,
on there.
they were moving it.
I got a story that can fucking rebuke that.
Go on.
So my neighbor, growing up, I won't name her. She wanted me to come over and play with the Ouija board because they know that I was spiritual back then. So they wanted me to participate because I was the only one that really like knew how to do that stuff. And one of our friends had recently lost his mother. This is why I say it's dangerous, because he was already going into it in a weakened state because he was searching, he was listening, he was welcoming some sort of spiritual interaction. And I don't blame him. He lost his mom. That sucks. Fucking sucks. So we all start using the Ouija board, and something comes through, and it starts answering questions. And it turns out it's not his mom. It claims to be his grandfather. And he doesn't believe it at first. But then we told him, ask a question that only you would know the answer to. Don't say it out loud. This is the other part. You don't have to fucking say it out loud. You can think it. And so he does, and it answers the question correctly, and he pulls his hand off the planchet. And when he does, everybody else but me is holding on to it. Or everybody else, yeah, I'm the only one holding on to it. Everybody else lets go. And I'm like, no!
Oh.
I'm like, fucking no! I'm like, you have to say goodbye. Like, you have to close the door. And everybody immediately puts their hands back down on it. And I'm like, fuck, what do we do? I don't know what to do in this situation because I've never dealt with this. And we're like, goodbye. And it goes, no. And I'm like, shit. I'm like, everybody say goodbye. And it says no again. And we're like, is this still your grandfather? No. And we're like, shit. And we say, who is this? And to this day, I'll never forget that he slid it all the way to the bottom of the thing to Z. And I was like, shit, now we're dealing with something. And I'm like, we got to say goodbye. And it just keeps going, no. And we're like, all right, well, we're done with this. So goodbye. And we slid it over to know ourselves, or to goodbye ourselves. And proceeded to be one of the longest and nastiest hauntings I've ever seen in somebody's life. And it's one of the first times I've ever seen a full-bodied apparition of something taller than me.
Interesting.
It never left her house.
And you're 6'3". Jesus.
Yes, this thing was as tall as the room. What ended up happening, we get rid of it. Her friend Catherine, they take it, they go burn it. They burn the Ouija board. They're done with it. A couple weeks goes by, and she calls me, and she's like, I need you to come over. I don't know who else to call. There is something in my house, and I don't know what to do. And I'm like, okay. So I come over, and she's in the dining room. Like the way the door went, it was a hallway. There was one door there was one pathway that went into the living room, and then there was a pathway that went down into their bedrooms, and then there was a dining room directly in front of them. And she's in the dining room, and she's visibly scared, like fucking shaking, visibly scared. And she's holding the phone, and she's fucking shaking. So I come walking in because she doesn't come to the door. She doesn't move. She like does one of these, like, come here, come here, come here, come here, come here, come here. And I come walking in, and I start walking into the dining room, and I get to the pathway, and I feel it, just like Tyson said. It was cold. And she's like, it's there. And I turn, and oh God. Flashed in my mind for a second. I look down where her bedroom is, and it's standing halfway in and halfway out of her door. And this thing is as tall as the fucking hallway, and horns and red fucking eyes. And I'm like, well, you got a demon in your house. She's like, what do I do? I was like, did you get rid of the Ouija board? She says, yep. And I was like, I don't know.
See, that's what I was going to ask.
At
Like,
the
what
time,
happens if somebody throws out a Ouija board or burns it or just like fucking... Oh God,
you have
Raven, fuck off with this. Raven has this fucking sick obsession where she's like, I want a fucking demon. Like, she gets... we like play video games, and whenever there's this like just giant, like 7 foot tall, like super muscly thing with horns, or like some, like she just goes, hello there. Like she gets the vapors.
You don't want to deal with something like that because they never go away. So at the time, I'm like 14, 15 years old, and I am not as schooled at this stuff as I am now. And, you know, I now have like fucking 20 years under my belt. But so it progresses to get worse. It starts doing like poltergeist activity. And I'm like, I think I don't remember what I said back then. I think I told her to rebuke it in the name of Jesus, but I don't remember. I don't remember. It's been so long. But basically what ended up happening was it started doing like crazy shit, like to the rest of her family. And like, as time went on, like her father even said to me at one point, he was like, I put a glass down and I literally watched it slide across the countertop. Like the dishwasher would just kick open. And then one of the worst things that ever happened to them, they were already in a bad situation. Her mother was sick. Her father there was something going on, and he was having money issues because this is what they do. They prey on the family like this. And they came home one day and their fridge was wide open, and it had been open for like 6 hours, and all of the food in their house went bad. And that's another thing that they like to do because they isolate, they starve, they fuck with you. And then as things went on in their lives, things got worse. And the kid that I told you initially, who was dealing with this stuff, he did not fare well either. He went to war, he survived, but he came back and he is not right. And it sucks because I grew up with him and I've known him forever. And we weren't the best of friends, but he's still like one of my childhood friends. And like the last time I saw him in public, he looks like a homeless person. He's not, but he was like a step away from it. Like soiled clothes, matted hair. His nails were like this long.
Drawn in face.
Yeah, that's the kind of shit that they do to you. Because they feed off of you. And because their eventual goal is to kill you as soon as they can.
And why is it that they want to kill you?
It finishes their deal faster. Like Tyson's not wrong. They're impatient. The knocking on the door thing, they will wait for that because they will wait for their prey. But when it comes to once they lock you in, they know it's a race. They got to get to you, isolate you, and get you to die before you can turn to God. And that's the truth. That's exactly what it is. And that's why they don't always go after the people who are godly. That's why they go after the easy targets. And they will go after the easy targets because if they can commit more affronts to God, they will. If a person is willing to allow one to take over their fucking body, they will, because they want to exist on this planet, because existing on this planet, being in flesh, is a complete affront to God.
Alden kept on YouTube, you saying you believe in God.
Yes.
Me personally, I believe there's a higher power. I don't believe in God. Like, I don't believe there's an old man in the clouds kind of thing.
Yeah. No, I don't believe in that.
I believe that the universe itself is God. I believe that the universe is a supreme consciousness that we all share. That's kind of like my belief. I believe in a higher power. We were actually just talking about this recently. I kind of lean, because I used to look up religions, and I would say that I lean more towards Taoism. That kind of fits more of the criteria of what I personally believe. John, what would you say is your take? Do you believe in God?
Yes. And I believe Jesus Christ is my savior.
There you have it.
Maybe a few years ago, I might have been a little too shy to say that out loud, but not anymore. I've dealt with too much shit.
Alden, how about you? Do you believe in God? Are you a religious person? Or are you kind of like indifferent?
Have you ever had a demonic interaction?
Do you believe in UFO stuff? Have you ever seen anything? Have you ever experienced anything? Talk to us. Tell us your story.
Have you ever seen a weeping brown eye on a full moon night? Yeah, if anybody wants to chime in or pipe in, I'm totally down. I'll talk.
Yes, anybody who's watching, have a Discord. Feel free to join. And if you hop into, did you ask me if I believe in God? Yes, pretty much extending the same question. And also, we have a Discord. If anybody wants to chime in and join us, just hop into the general voice chat and let us know in the chat that you are in the streams chat that you are in general. I will drag in and come say hi and talk to us. Steve knows how I feel about you. Oh, this is Holden that I used to work with.
I don't know Halden.
I used to work with him at Amazon. What's up, bud? Yeah, if anybody wants to talk about that and or anything really, just about like anything paranormal. It doesn't have to be aliens, doesn't have to be ghosts, like
Doesn't even have to be a religion. I don't care.
any topic really. Anyone talk to us, please.
Anybody talk to us?
I would also like to suggest at this time that we do have merch if you want to support the channel and represent. We have some pretty cool designs on there at very, very decent prices, and go check that out. We're on Rumble, we're on Twitch, we're on YouTube. Steve told me there's a 0% chance Jesus is real before. Yeah, I think we talked about this before, where I had once said that I don't know, because I don't think that there's any physical proof that Jesus was physically real. I thought that Jesus I thought it was plausible that Jesus could be I was under the impression that if there was a Jesus, he'd be more of like a sun god or an anthropomorphication of the sun. Like people worshipped the sun, and
No, that itself is a common misnomer, because he does say like I am the light, and he does say that I am the son of God. He does say a lot of those things, and then people make the false connection of that SON is SUN, and we've been mistaking. No, and never in the Bible does he say that I am the sun. I am the solar thing, that I rise and fall. No.
I want answers to all my questions. But what questions do you have? Maybe we can help.
I mean, I knew it was bound to happen if I started talking about this stuff at some point, that somebody was going to come in here and either try and test me or try and catch me in something. But I'm all about it. Fuck it. I'm done being trepidatious.
What? Ask us any question.
Ask us any questions. I'm here, dude. I'm an open door. I don't have a access to the multi-stream, so I'm just kind of reading this off of the screen. So if you see it before I do.
I don't have time to narrow down my questions right now. I wasn't expecting this to appear on my computer.
Funny how that works.
Yeah, I mean,
Funny how
you don't have
funny
to-
how those things.
You don't have to put all questions, but just like a
Take your time.
random
Take your
question.
time.
People are so freaking. Nobody's being ignorant here, you bud.
Halden, come talk to us on live. Come talk to us in person if you have a microphone. I don't know if you have a microphone or not.
Also, I added a chat noise, so when someone says something in chat, it pops up and I can hear. And it's the I literally added it Wednesday night as we were streaming. The next time you're running the stream, you might hear it. But it's
The
a-
the little doodly doot noise.
yeah,
Yeah.
the aim message. Somebody born in 1982 is ignorant to me. Okay.
That's because we're old. We're getting cranky, crotchety. (1982), which means they're older than me. So that means they're like 42?
42, 43.
43. That's why, dude. They're 43 years old. I'd be cranky as shit, too.
I can't even guess to turn on. If you just want to type in chat, that's fine too.
Yeah.
Whichever's more convenient for you. We have 4 people watching on YouTube. We have 4 on Twitch. free on Rumble.
We had like 10 on Twitch at one point, and then all of a sudden it just dropped out.
Yeah, what were we talking about?
The aliens.
Probably. We were on a hot topic. We gotta do like more current event things, like talk about more like modern, like hot topics. Is anyone keeping up with this Lorena Bobbitt thing?
Anthony Fauci's phone got seized by the FBI.
Oh yeah, that hurt. I think we're sorry, stream. I just heard about that.
Don't know what that means. It usually is a good sign that somebody's getting arrested.
What was the meaning of the toddler show Teletubbies?
That is a good question.
I think it was just a show that like the BBC threw together to kind of like keep kids entertained. It's just a kid show to like kind of not kid like babies.
I think it was an intellectual foray into thinking or trying to understand how aliens would perceive babies.
It's an interesting take on it.
Yep.
I'm the most down-to-earth person you'll ever know.
We'll get off the ground. Stand up a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I can never really wrap my mind around that show. That one was just like... That show was intense. That was something.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah.
Did you ever have sex while camping? Did you say anything?
I'm just processing that question and how random it was. And then I had to actually think for a second, have I? And no, I don't think I have.
It's fucking intense.
You can do better. I believe Jesus is real, but he is paralyzed, laying flat on his back somewhere. I want to become a blackjack dealer. Women and gay men are never as sexy as straight males.
I guess. Not to the Jesus thing. I don't understand where that was going. I don't really have a rebuttal for that. If you want to be a blackjack dealer, there's schools that you can go you can learn how to do it. I think it's a waste of money personally because you deal the cards. But I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be that hard. I would do it in, say, like Philadelphia or New York eventually when they open up. I wouldn't do it in Atlantic City because you're going to end up they've got like their own weird union, but it's not a union, and they have a whole bunch of rules, and everybody splits tips, and it's a ripoff, and you don't want to do that. The people dig that shit. People dig that you have a filthy mouth nowadays. Are you kidding me? Have you seen any of the videos on like the reels on like Instagram of like the blackjack dealers who were like talking shit back to the players? People love that stuff.
I remember when I used to wait tables. I used to like at a Denny's on the grave shift. So I would get, and it was just outside Atlantic City. So I used to get all like the drunks that came out of the city, all the like stoned college kids coming out from the university on like the other side of town, and I could like kind of read like what kind of people I was waiting on, and I would just like kind of not fuck with them, but I would like riff off of them, and it was fun, and that actually used to get me better tips. But as far as women and gay men are not as sexy as straight males, I mean, unless you're a gay man, I know there are
I guess
some gay men.
beauty is in the eye of the beholder. If you're
Sexy is subjective. Please keep responding to me, but my ADHD can only listen to me so much. We'll try to keep up.
dude, rapid fire.
Yeah, come on, keep them coming.
Come on, keep it coming.
Yeah, that used to get me better tips. Used to wait tables like that.
I used to flirt with everybody. Males, females, I didn't care who it was. I flirted with everybody. If I read it that they were one way or another. Yep.
Gets you better tips.
Yeah.
There was actually
I'm a whore.
study that Mythbusters did where they took what's her name? Redhead chick from Mythbusters. I had such a huge crush on her. Good.
So did I.
Oh. Smile. Oh. Swoon.
Carrie.
Carrie. She did the thing where she was making drinks for people.
Mm-hmm.
Or she was working at a barista or something. She was doing something where she was like making drinks for people. But she just was like in a regular outfit or whatever, and had like just like a t-shirt on, and no low cut, and people would tip her like regular, and then they would put fake breasts on her to make it appear that her bust was much larger.
Mm-hmm.
And they found out that after that she was getting 30% more tips.
Not surprised.
Just send the video once it's over so I can actually hear this when I hit space. It'll be here. Come back to the page and just watch the past broadcast on either Twitch or on YouTube. You're on YouTube. It'll be on YouTube in our live broadcasts tab, and we're also on Rumble. Yeah, man. Any questions you have? And my crying cat will stop meowing. Well, cats are just gonna. That's gonna perpetually happen. But yeah, we had a good start to the stream. Yeah, it says one.
Yeah, it's 11 o'clock. I think that I'm going to call it.
Yeah, we had one follow, and we had 4 subscriptions and 20 bits.
That's phenomenal.
So thank you,
Peyton. Peyton came in clutch with the gift.
Yes.
To 8 Ball. Yeah, that was pretty solid. Gotta love it. Thank you, Peyton, again.
But yeah, I think we'll call it there. Halsey, dude, good talking to you again. Thank you for dropping in and saying
Yeah,
hi.
bud.
We will be back here every Wednesday and Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We begin the stream. So please make sure that you come in, drop by and say hi as soon as we get started at 8 p.m. sharp Eastern Time. We have a Discord. There should be a link in the bio. Whether you're watching on Rumble, you're watching on Twitch, or whether you're watching on YouTube, link in the description. Go check out our link tree. We have merch. We have that'll take you to our Instagram, our TikTok, our all the other pages, all that stuff. I believe Jesus can't move because his dick is larger than the Eiffel Tower.
That's him in DC, duh. They built the city around him, that giant fucking throbbing cock. It's going to get us fucking flagged right there.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Sheesh. You suck your dick's dad. You suck your dad's dick with that mouth. God, why are we like this? Anyway, but yeah, check out the link tree. Follow us on all socials. Follow us on all platforms. Go to everywhere. Like everything. Subscribe. Do everything you can. Appreciate you guys hanging out and being here, part of the stream. Be sure to check us out again next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern sharp. Love you guys and be with you.
Good night.